We're back with the peanut butter banana mead.
So it's probably racking day, since the last time we touched this was April 30th of 2020. Today is July 6th of 2020. So that's all of May, June. Yeah, it's like almost 9 weeks. I mean, if it's not done, it's had every chance to be. So what we want to do is take a reading and just make sure it's really at the end, and we go from there. So as we look down inside the bucket, we see that it's more or less clear. It looks pretty good. I did an initial smell, and it tastes like, and it smells like that really overripe banana thing so far. But let's take a reading. I do see some occasional bubbles coming up from the bottom, which makes me wonder, is that just, unsettled gases that were sitting in the lees that got disturbed by moving around? Or is it really still fermenting? I don't think it should be. We did back sweeten this last time you saw it, and it went to 1.022 after back sweetening, but it was at 1.002 before back sweetening, which made me think that it was probably finished. That is floating just barely, which is what I want. Okay, so this is at 1.012, which means it actually dropped 10 points since the last time we checked it. Now, that last time we checked it was 8 weeks ago. I'm going to bet, there's always a little bit of a risk that it's still fermenting, but it's at 1.012. It's very close to the end there, and I know we're past the tolerance of that D47 yeast already at, I can figure this one out. Let's just see here. We have an initial gravity of 1.108. We went down to 1.002. We went back up to 1.022, which we don't add that in, and it dropped 10 more points. So I'm going to add that 0.010 onto my final number there, giving me 0.116, so 116 points of gravity that got used up. I'm going to multiply that out by 135, and I get 15.66% alcohol. That's a full 1.5% over what D47 is supposed to do. So impressive. We've had D47 go both ways, where it didn't even get close to what it's supposed to, or go like crazy high above, which means something was really good about this. Maybe there was just plenty of everything for it, but I'm going to call it probably done. A few more points in conditioning phase isn't really that big of a deal, so I'm not going to worry about it. But what I am going to do is pour this into the pitcher rather than into the fermenter. But you know what? I think I'd like to have a small taste of this to see if it needs more adjustment before we do that. All right, so I'm just going to pour off a little bit of our sample here. It's really, really clear. It looks like a finished product. I believe this is going to need a significant amount of aging. And when I say that, I mean like 6 months or more, okay? That can go right back into
The red bucket of sanitization!
I'm just going to give this a little swirl. It's a beautiful color. It's like a yellowy, golden color almost.
Got a slight hint of green.
Yeah. I don't know where the green came from. It smells like banana to me. I get plenty of banana. Like that sickly sweet banana that's overripe. I don't mean that to be complimentary. It's that sickly sweet thing I can't do.
He doesn't like it.
What's mildly disappointing? I don't get any peanut butter. None. There's zero peanut butter. Right now, it's like a very light-bodied banana wine. It's even a little sparkling because there's a little carbonation in here. It's not great.
I get a little bit of peanut butter.
Do you? Okay.
I do.
I want to. Do the breathing thing. Still, no. But we're going to rack it anyway, because it may not be exactly what we wanted it to be, but it's going to be something. and somebody will like it. And it's a learning experience. I think the peanut butter powder was not the right way to get peanut butter into this brew. And I've battled with this. I don't really know what is the right way, but I don't know that that was it. So we're just going to rack this. Now I do see a significant, in the light now, I do see a significant amount of sediment. And I'm guessing that is all that peanut butter powder. It just didn't ever really get into it enough to flavor it well. So instead it just kind of sits on the bottom. That's disappointing because that's going to mean we're going to lose more product. And before anybody asks, can you use a coffee filter or anything else? You can try. I don't really think it's a good idea. We did a video on the whole coffee filter thing, and there's a lot of reasons not to do it. One of them is it just takes so much time. And honestly, that extra couple ounces is probably going to be half filled with sediment by the time you get it anyway. I don't worry about it. Whoops. As much as I'm a frugal guy, there comes a certain point at which I go, yeah, that's just more trouble than it's worth to get that last half an ounce out. So in the bottom, we basically have peanut butter. That's what happened. I don't think that powder ever really dissolved. And, you know, that was a concern. We kind of knew when we were going into it. That's why we like to do some experimental things every once in a while. All right, so now that we racked it to the pitcher, and I rack it to the pitcher on purpose so that I can kind of figure out what size vessel we're going to need because up to about that spout is a full gallon. We know this is a gallon. If it was a little bit less, I might use the wide mouth, which is just slightly less than a gallon. And if it was only down to like here, I have a 3-liter bottle too. If you're in one of those in-between sizes and you don't feel comfortable with the amount of headspace you have, you can add glass marbles. Make sure you sanitize them first and be really, really careful pouring them in. If you just like drop them in, they're likely to hit the bottom and crack your vessel, thereby wasting all of your brew, not just a little bit on a chance of oxidization or vinegarization. So be careful. I almost rarely, if ever, use those marbles because of that fear. Because I never know how many I'm going to need until I'm at that point. And then if I put them in, I could break it. And it's just one of those like, my chance of making vinegar is less than my chance of breaking that vessel. So I'm going to go back to using Wibble, and I'm just going to pick this pitcher up very, very carefully because it's very, very full. And put it up there. Okay. And now we rack. But the advantage to putting in the pitcher first is I can just put this all the way down to the bottom because there's nothing in there. This is also our first racking, so it's not really that critical to worry about too much sediment. But what we don't want to do is introduce more oxygen than we need to. It's also probably degassing ever so slightly still, so we should be pretty safe. And this is like well over 15%. It will not become vinegar, okay? But oxidization can occur, and that can dull some flavors. It can make a sherry-like taste in wines. Not necessarily what we're looking for here, so I like to avoid that. All right, so we finished racking, and we talk about this a lot, but headspace in conditioning. Now, if you look at this bottle, you can see exactly where that fluid is up in the neck. It's where it's got almost the least amount of connection with air that it can possibly have. The least air contact possible. That's what you're looking for, somewhere in that range. It could go a little bit higher, but you don't want to go a lot lower. Like once you start going past the shoulder and it's a wide open area into contact with air, that could be bad. What's bad about it? It can just oxidize your mead, and it can create off flavors and things like that. And it'll reduce the longevity of it. It won't age as nicely as it would normally. So what are we going to do with this guy now? Well, really simple. I'm just going to stick a cap in it, put the airlock back on there, and it's going to go condition for a while. We lied. 6 months has not gone by. It's been 2. But we decided, let's take a look at this, see how it's doing, see what we want to do to continue. So first, we take a reading, because that's what you do. And this will tell us where it's at. Now, last time we checked it, it was at 1.012. It is really nice and clear. I remember we were a little disappointed in the flavor. It didn't have any peanut butter flavor to it. So it's kind of a banana mead, which, you know, in and of itself, not a bad thing. Let's just see what this comes out to be. Okay, so it looks like 1.010. It looks like it might have dropped 2 points, but that's so hard to read. There's bubbles around it. I'm going to say it could be 1.012. Either way, I'm fine with that. That means it's pretty stable. So that also means that if we needed to back sweeten or anything, we could at this point and there'd be no harm. I'm just going to pour off a little bit of a sample here for us to taste. I'm not going to pour that back in because there's some milky lees in the bottom. Oh, it smells like banana. Shocker, right? It smells like the banana wine. I don't get a hint of peanut butter. I think the powdered peanut butter really doesn't work for this kind of thing. That's my best guess at this point.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah, I really wanted a peanut butter banana. But I'm kind of okay with a peanut butter mead. Depending on how it tastes. If it tastes like crap, then I don't want it.
It does not taste like crap.
No. And you know, I don't even think it needs to be sweetened.
It reminds me of childhood memories of eating banana yogurt.
It reminds me of the banana wine we just made. Although, in a different way, it's actually got more of a tangy thing going on to it.
I think that's where I'm getting the banana yogurt reference
Yeah,
from.
maybe. The banana's there. It's very strong banana without being overpowering banana. The honey has not come back yet. So that's why I think this needs some age. However, you know what we can do with this? We can bottle it.
Yep.
It is ready to bottle. So let's...
We're going to go ahead and get out Wibble so we can rack this so we won't have to worry about that lease, and then we'll get to bottling.
Okay, so in preparation for bottling, we're going to rack it to a pitcher because there is some sediment in there and I want to get as much of that out as we can. And I just like to do it that way. It also gives me a really good indication of how much we have. I like to use bottling wands when I'm bottling. It gives you a little extra control. This little spring tip on the end, when it's pushed down, it flows. When it pulls up, it stops. That way you can fill those bottles to the top and not waste any. I'm just going to stick that in there. And I'm going to take the cap off the bottom because we know there's no sediment in the bottom there. So I want to be able to get as close to the bottom as possible. I'm just going to put that to the bottom. And I'm going to ask Derek to hold this for me, please. Just there is good. And then we bottle. And as you can see now, the color on this is just really, really lovely. It looks like a beautiful mead, which it is a beautiful mead, okay? I'm a little disappointed that the peanut butter didn't come through, but I think it's because of our choice of peanut butter flavor. Peanut butter is one of those things, it's hard to come through with a powder and things like that that don't actually absorb into the mead itself. So I'll do some research and see if we can find out another way to get peanut butter flavor into a mead. Although if anybody has suggestions, I'm open to listening because this was just an experiment to see what happens. It actually came out as a wonderful banana mead. So I might even just call it banana mead from here out and just rename all the videos to that, and that way no one's the wiser. I'm not going to do that. I'm kidding. So on this next bottle, you see this little doohickey that we got on there. This is something that Stacy, one of our admins, actually told us about. This is a regular old wine bottle. We added a swing top to it. These are actually going to be in the description below, but they're actually pretty cool if you have the right bottle. They're kind of picky about what bottles they can go on, but when you have the right bottles, man, they work just beautifully. Standard wine bottles seem to work best. Nothing fancy. Whiskey bottles are kind of iffy. Now, something weird. You know that little like back breath that you get sometimes? It's almost a burp, but not quite. I kind of got peanut butter in that. I know that's weird, but I did. Sorry, just had to share. So what we got is 2 1 liters, 2 750 mils, and then a 16 ounce. That's about, half full. So this will probably be our taster. One of these is going to go away for a whole year, and then the others we'll probably just drink along the way. This is actually pretty drinkable as it is. I think with a few more months of aging, though, it'll be really, really spectacular. Banana just seems to need time. If you like this video, we have about 300 videos on how to make wine, cider, mead, and beer on our channel.
Thank you for liking and subscribing.
And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.